this whole notion of police and community, look, I know that it's not a kumbaya thing. I know that there are problems. There are major, major issues in many parts of the country, in many parts of the world. But we're here today to come up with some common ground, with some solutions, with some relationship building. So with that in mind, we're gonna open it up for some dialogue, and I'm gonna have my friend James come up, and he's gonna lead this part of the discussion, which is framing the issue. Why do we need to be here today? Why do we need to be talking about love being the answer? Why do we need to put on a lei and wear Hawaiian shirts? We're dealing with some very, very difficult issues in some cases. In Santa Monica, we've got it good. I believe, and I've lived here twice for a total of about 9 years, I believe that this is, in Santa Monica and Santa Monica College, two of the finest police departments in the country. Anybody else agree? I believe that. I believe that because I've been to all 50 states and 12 countries. But in all 50 states where I've done business, where I've met people, where I've been involved with police departments and community groups, I see some amazing things happening here. And not everything is perfect. But what I do see is I see the hearts of the people who are working every day to try to make this community a better community. And so while James comes up and frames the issue, I don't want to get stuck on one situation, one bad thing for too long. I just want you to follow James' instructions and work with him and keep in mind that we're here to make things better. We do want to address the need, and that's what James is going to lead you through right now. Thanks, James.
Good morning, everybody. Aloha.
Aloha.
Now, when AJ first told me Hawaiian, I was like, okay. I wasn't there yet. I thought it was kind of corny. To be honest, I hadn't matured yet to appreciate it. But I'm here now, and I'm happy to be here. Good morning again. It's an honor and a pleasure to speak in front of a room full of people who willingly put their lives on the line every day. Who, when bullets fly, you guys are charged, tasked, and duty bound to go directly at them to provide protection for me and other citizens. But I also come into this space this morning as a husband and a father and a person of color, black man, and you probably noticed that first. Before I told you anything else, and even before I complimented you. So if I don't have a chance to speak to each and every one of you individually today, I do sincerely from the bottom of my heart thank you for the work that you do. But we got some problems, and we got to talk about them. And it may be a little uncomfortable. So I'd like to invite you guys to participate in this part of the process with me, sharing. As we already said, this is a safe space. It stays here. It's not going anywhere. But I need you to be authentic. I need you to be very, very authentic and just let it fly. Say what you need to say. So when we look at some of the issues that we're facing, and central to this, the theme of this film is Walking While Black. Anybody in here ever walked while black? That's a cue for all the blacks to raise their hands. I was coming for you. and for many of you guys, you may not quite understand what that means. You may not understand the sensation. You know, we talk about mindfulness and reptilian brain, fight, flight, freeze, right? When that black and white gets behind you, that, you know, for you officers, maybe the hair on the back of your neck when you're responding to a call, suspicious activity, dark place, you're by yourself, you only have your radio, you only have your service weapon, you only have the tools that you come with, right? Well, when we get pulled over, or sometimes when we make that contact with you, that feeling in the stomach, it's almost indescribable, but it's uncomfortable. Because at that moment, I don't know if I'm going home. At that moment, I'm unsure if my liberty is at stake. And at that moment, I know I didn't bring a gun to the situation. This isn't an indictment on officers, but this is a reality. This is just what it is. And so when we go reptilian, you ask why the young man ran. He was scared, shit. His brain isn't fully developed. He associates the contact possibly as being in trouble. So what's one of the first things you do when you're in trouble as a kid, young man, adolescent? You lie. Wasn't my weed? Wasn't my car? Wasn't my anything. Because what I'm trying to do is distance myself from you because right now I perceive the contact as a threat. And I haven't done anything. So that instinct to run isn't necessarily an omission of guilt. It's fear. It's fight, flight, or freeze. Your reptilian brain. We all do that. You guys respond like that. So let's frame up some of the conversation today. What are some of the issues? And I want to hear from community members. I want to hear from law enforcement. Right now, we're hot in the legislative things that are being considered being passed is AB 392. Does anybody know what AB 392 is? Anybody know? Yes, ma'am. You want to share? You were just...
I'll try.
Because it's not a monologue. You guys can come to see or hear me.
Can we get another microphone so everybody can hear? I'm going to sit. Let's go. I'll sit.
Turn it off. Hi, my name is Michelle Wittig. I was raising my hand to say that I think I know something about it, but I'll be willing to also try to describe my understanding of the proposal. But first, the status quo. I'm not a police officer. I'm a social psychologist. I understand that right now, when a police officer is in a situation that might call for strong response, the standard is that the police officer should respond as any reasonable police officer would. Now, my understanding of 392 is that it would change the standard a little bit so that when a police officer is faced with a very quick decision about whether or not, for example, to use a weapon, the standard would now be that no other alternative was reasonably available. So that's a subtle difference, but I think it is an important point at which people diverge a lot, and that's my understanding.
So essentially it's de-escalation. It's de-escalation. It would require officers to de-escalate a situation first. That could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, but one thing that will or will not happen, and none of us in this room control it, is whether or not that law comes into effect. So we're either going to have to live with it, you guys are going to have to learn to adjust to it, but if that is the will of the people, that's going to be a reality in your everyday life. Implicit bias. Anybody familiar with implicit bias?
Hey James,
Yes.
Let's roll that tape.
Okay, let's roll the tape. Who's cueing it first? Here we go.
I generally obey the speed limit. I don't drive around with broken tail lights. I use my turn signals. I wear my seat belt. I don't have much reason to worry about the police. I like to think that's because I'm a good citizen, but I also know there is another reason. It is because I am white. Our polls have shown that black people and white people see the police in a fundamentally different way. So much so that there's not really a cultural gap between the communities, there is a cultural chasm between the two. You ask white people if they think that most people are treated fairly by the justice system, by police, and about half of white people will say everyone's treated the same no matter what race they are. Ask non-whites, and it will drop to less than a quarter of the people who believe that. Now, why does this happen? Well, people on one side will say because minority communities are disproportionately committing crimes. The African American community, which is only about 12% of the general population, is arrested for around 30% of the crimes out there. So they would say this creates an us-them mentality. But other people look at those same crime statistics and they say that's evidence of something else. What's happening here, they say, is that police are predisposed to think that black suspects are guilty. They prosecute them with more energy, and in the end, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, who is right in all of this? It's very hard to say, but it is easy to see the effect. An unarmed kid gets shot in Missouri, an unarmed black man gets put into a chokehold in New York, and he dies. In each case, there is the camp that rises that says, look, this is proof of how the police are targeting us. And there's another camp that arises and says, look, in each case, these people weren't doing what police told them to do, and that is proof that it's not bigotry. Who is right? Well, that's what we're debating as a society. Most of us can have that debate all day at our desks and in our homes, and we're not going to have anything really on the line for a police officer and a suspect out there in a tense moment. Their lives may indeed be on the line. And there, this debate is anything but academic.
So I just make this up.
So why don't you go ahead and lead them through the, just get everybody to start sharing those issues, and I'll write them down up on the board.
So we'll do this, we call it popcorn meeting facilitation. So anybody just want to kind of pop something out, you know, that that resonated with them or something that they've experienced, a story that they may share. And of course, we don't want to make this a long, you know, we kind of want to get to the point so we can get into the film, but we want to make sure that we're able to come back and revisit these things. So for me, it would be racial profiling. That seems to be an issue consistently across the board. Does anybody else want to share an issue or something that they've experienced?
I'm going to come to you, so just stay where you are.
An aspect that's missing is mental health. I read statistics on crime, and about 70% of those arrested have some kind of mental issue going with them. How does this relate to what you're explaining right now?
Okay. You said mental health.
Yeah, so we're just going to rapid fire.
What we're doing is we're not getting the answers now, we're just putting it on the table. Okay, so what do you see the issues are? What are the issues? Yes, I'm coming to you. Now we get it here. Okay, here we go.
I learned at 14 that my demographic and my geographic location made me a suspect. I grew up between Watson, Compton, and Willowbrook, and getting stopped by police on a regular basis was routine.
All right, here we go.
Second.
I was going to say the same thing that he said, because since my son had left Santa Monica, he'd been put over a lot. He didn't have his tags, he had the paper in the back, and then he was following my dad, and they took him out the car, had him on a sidewalk for that, and my dad pulled over, to help him. But out here, we haven't had that problem at all. So I can say this area, we've never been bothered by police. I feel more comfortable being here, but when he moved to LA, he's been pulled over a whole lot.
So like curbing, I think is what she's
All right, here we go.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we're going to get to them quickly. All right, here we go.
Irrespective of who you are, as living in America, you're going to be wired to have some kind of assumption.
I think that I'm a former commissioner of post, peace officer standard training, chaired the commission. This was in the 70s, and I brought up to the commission that we got to deal with fear. Write that word down, because you described it in your opening about the initial contact, and I don't think law enforcement has dealt properly with fear and from its psychological thing, the whole 9 yards. There's fear on both sides of the plate when that control is made. And that's something we have to deal with as law enforcement personnel. Thank you very much.
Really want to hear from some of the Leos in the room.
All right, hold on, we have,
I kind of look at it as stereotyping the Beta Society, because you know, we want to humanize who we are. I mean, every group, whether it be African American to Latino, you know, to even Asian, everybody has a stereotype, it seems, and that wall has to go down because we're people, and so that's what I see the Beta Society.
okay. All right, where we go? Right over here. And if I don't get you in proper order, that's okay. We're going to get to everyone as we can.
Hi everyone, my name is Dina. I'm 69 years old, and I was brought up in Uniondale, Long Island, and we had in my high school, I think, 4 black people. Now, as I got older in the 60s, I used to like to I was taken to the Apollo several times in Harlem. I was terrified because I was a honky. So what's happened for me also on the other side of it, I am afraid. I'm afraid in certain situations. So that's why I'm here today.
All right. Where? Okay, here we go. Excuse me. You. Communication, or lack thereof, right? All right. Ego. Wonderful. Okay, where we go? Here we go. 1 second.
I would say it's either the perception or the reality of over-policing specific communities. So, depending on what side of the fence you're on, it's either police officers are hanging out on that corner looking to, you know, find something wrong, and they are flooding one community, or it's just that's where the crime is happening.
All right, we can get back to you. Okay, Kim? You want to say something? You really compel me to do this. I got to do it.
I know. I just wanted to say one more thing. I don't want to be a honky, and I don't want to be afraid anymore. And I'm here because I want to learn how to do that. And thank you, AJ, for opening up this invitation to me.
Thank you for your honesty.
Couple more.
Social media
Social media, can you expound?
plays a huge part in communication and dialogue between the community and police.
Ignorance? Okay. All right. Here we go. Hold on. We want to try to get as many people.
I would like to add cultural dynamics.
Cultural dynamics. Okay. Here we go.
Everybody.
AJ, from the law enforcement side, we've got to look too at just job experiences every day. You know, if you're a white officer working in a predominantly black neighborhood, and every call you answer, you know, that's all you're dealing with is African Americans and the stuff that goes on there. You know, you're not necessarily picking on African Americans. That's your job area. That's your job.
Okay.
What's this job experience?
Job. Is that job experience or job assignment? Okay, here we go.
I would say gender and skin color.
Gender and skin color. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Want to make sure we get to you. I'm coming right to you.
Couple more, and then we'll move into the next phase.
All right. Here we go.
So it's important that we address issues of coloniality, which encompass everything on there, institutionalized violence, and white fragility.
Wow.
Back in the back.
Here we go.
And has everybody else up here that wanted to ask something asked, because we're going to move into the next phase.
Police culture and training.
Police culture and training.
Chief.
All right, Chief.
I want to talk about PTSD, and I don't mean by the soldiers. I mean, I'm looking at every call that a cop goes on. They're experiencing something, and there's no debrief. There's nothing to take care of themselves, and they see it over and over and over. Same with, citizens who may be stopped all the time, over and over and over. It's reinforced without anything to between them to stop.
Let's take three more and from 3 police officers.
All right, 3 more. Here we go. We'll come to you, and then you, and give me one more police officer.
I think it's important to realize if you smash all these shots together, it's a two-way road. So there's 2 people involved. And many times, too, where I might be accused of something by my mere presence, I was called. I'm here because somebody asked versus my just showing up because I wanted to do something. So keep that in mind.
Thank you. Second. And you notice what we're trying to do is to get perspective. That's important, that we operate from prism and perspective.
I think in the opportunity where we try to connect with one another, we're trying to at least point out our differences instead of our similarities, and I think that brings it up really a point of not collaborating with one another.
Very good. One more. Who's going to be bold? Just give it that. Here we go.
I mean, my education.
No. We need you to get I know you have that booming voice. You know that. We know you. We got that. But if we're going to. No. We're going to get this together. Okay.
Education.
Okay. Education.
All right.
There you go.
And lastly, I would add pretextual stops as a form of contact. So we're going to, just before we get ready to show the film, thank you guys for sharing. Thank all of you for sharing and opening up and expressing how you feel today. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Refreshments, restroom. There's refreshments in the next room over there, coffee, Danishes, juice, and the restrooms are just down the hall and to the left. And so we'll be back in here. It is right now 20 minutes till 10 minutes till. So we'll be back here about the next 5 minutes.
Yep. Cool. Good job.
Yeah, I forgot about the film. I became the film. Yeah, what he said. But you know, I was some of the work. That's